than Real Madrid at the moment.
All right, well, Chelsea just get the win there. Robbo, we just want to apologize on behalf of our producer, Mike, who forced you to watch this game, because Chelsea, yes, getting the job done, but they don't make it pretty, do they?
Well, they didn't dominate the play. They had 59% possession, as you just saw there. But you couldn't say they dominated the opposition. They gave the ball away quite cheaply in midfield at times. It was a fairly decent game in terms of the counter-attacks. Benfica had their chances in the first half and didn't make the most of them. Benfica, I thought, defended quite well for long periods. The player that really stood out was Neto out on the right-hand side. He cut on his left foot. He got 3 or 4 good crosses. George hardly had a touch of the ball. Garnacho was okay at best. And Caicedo and Fernandes, did their bit in midfield. But Chelsea at the moment have got 1 or 2 problems. They at times pass it too slowly. They give it away cheaply in bad areas. And they have problems defensively. Not today, because Benfica didn't quite have enough to break them down. They got a lot of crosses into the box. They had 1 or 2 good moments in the first half, but didn't then carry it on in the second half. So it was a very competitive game. It was a very even game. Chelsea won by their own goal, and that was about it, really.
Craig, I know we talked about this a couple of seasons, a season or 2 ago, about Arsenal and when they were accumulating a lot of cards and if discipline was an issue there. Now we're seeing Chelsea once again in another game being reduced to 10 men. Is this becoming a problem for Enzo Maresca?
Well, let's look at it's not been over aggressive. Well, that one was maybe a silly high boot. I'm trying to think back. The Brighton game, what was the Brighton sending off again? Do we remember?
Chalobah for Brighton and then Sanchez against
Man United. They gave the ball. That's right. They gave the ball away. It got pinched.
Chalobah's weekend.
And Chalobah was denying a clear goal scoring opportunity. That was just bad play. He was put in a position. And the Robert Sanchez one was bad decision making. Getting himself in the wrong position so early in the game. And so I wouldn't say that's bad discipline. The high boot is a little bit. He only come on in 60 minutes. João Pedro, so he was only just on the field. So to get 2 bookings, and particularly when you're on a yellow, to raise your boot as high as that, whether there's contact or not, is just crazy. So I don't think, to go back to the point about Arsenal, the Arsenal ones from the centre halves were, I think, over aggression, getting involved with the referee, dissent, all these kind of things that you can, Leandro Trossard kicking the ball away, then moaning about. That's something that you can stop. What you can't stop is when you're put in a bad position by your team making a mistake, which Sanchez was to a point, which Chalobah was to a point. So that's not something I would worry about too much. But if my players getting sent off for dissent or 2-footed tackles or stuff like that on a more regular basis, that's something that you need to address. Obviously, it's not brilliant when you keep going down to 10 men. And if they do it at the weekend against Liverpool, they're going to be in trouble. But it is 3 red cards in 4 games if you include the cup tie against Lincoln.
If you look at all these red cards individually and isolate them, as Craig said, it's not really. No, it's not. It's situations that have occurred that are kind of out with the person's control. Again, you could say João Pedro shouldn't be. But João Pedro only had eyes for the ball, raised his foot too high. He didn't make any contact. He's not kicked somebody in the face. So in isolation, they're really not what you would say disciplinary problems, as opposed to the Arsenal ones where it's kicking the ball away and getting in the ref's face. That's a completely different ball game.
Was it not as well? There was a Trossard one at Man City. There was the Declan Rice little toe poke at home, which was very, it seemed very silly, but it was the correct decision. And then there was, I think, Ben White at Wolves, might have been the year before, where he had 2 yellows within 10 seconds or so in the right back position. So, it's stuff like that as a manager, you've got to say, listen, I get it. It's an emotional game, and sometimes you want to have a moan at the ref, and sometimes you're frustrated. But in this day and age in particular, you just don't want to be getting red cards for silly little petulant things. And Arsenal were pretty bad for it for a year or 2. They seem to have cleaned that up. 3 reds for Chelsea in the space of, 10 days or so is far from ideal.
Right, Chelsea fans, we need to have a serious chat about something that's becoming a worrying pattern at Stamford Bridge. 3 red cards in just over a week. 3 matches where we've been reduced to 10 men. And the question everyone's asking is this: is discipline turning into a genuine problem for Enzo Maresca's Chelsea? Let's lay out the facts, shall we? Robert Sanchez got sent off after just 5 minutes against Manchester United at Old Trafford for bringing down Bryan Mbeumo when he was through on goal. Then, against Brighton at the Bridge, Trevoh Chalobah saw red in the 53rd minute after a poor back pass from Andre Santos left him exposed and forced him to bring down Diego Gomez. And according to the ESPN FC discussion we've been examining, there was also a sending off in the cup tie against Lincoln. That's 3 dismissals in quick succession, and it's costing us dearly. We lost 2-1 to United and then suffered a shocking 3-1 collapse at home to Brighton after leading 1-0. Before we go any further, if you're enjoying this breakdown and want to stay on top of all the latest Chelsea news and analysis, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're bringing you exclusive content every single day, keeping you one step ahead of what's happening at the Bridge. Right, let's get back to it. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Pedro Neto himself admitted that Chelsea have to learn from these mistakes, saying the 5 losses they've had lately included 4 red cards. The Portuguese winger described the way they conceded the red cards as an unbelievable way, given how they were controlling matches. And you know what? He's absolutely spot on. These aren't your typical aggressive fouls or dissent that we saw Arsenal rack up a couple of seasons back. These are forced errors, panic situations, players being put in impossible positions by teammates' mistakes. What's remarkable, and frankly embarrassing, is the pattern that's emerged. Chalobah's mistake led to Sanchez's red card against United. Then Sanchez's poor pass under pressure led to Chalobah's red card against Brighton. It's like they're taking turns putting each other in the mixer. Chelsea fans on social media have been having a field day with this, joking about whose turn it'll be next week. But beneath the dark humour, there's genuine concern building. The ESPN FC panel made an excellent point about the difference between these incidents and the Arsenal disciplinary issues from before. Those Arsenal red cards were about players kicking the ball away, getting in referees' faces, petulant behaviour, things you can actually control, and coach out of players. Sanchez's dismissal was for denying a clear goal-scoring opportunity, a professional foul rather than anything malicious. Chalobah was caught out by a teammate's error and had no choice but to bring his man down to prevent a certain goal. These are reactive mistakes born from poor decision-making elsewhere on the pitch, not hot-headed moments of madness. Enzo Maresca has been managing Chelsea since July 2024, and he's already won the Conference League and the Club World Cup in his first season. The Italian knows what he's doing tactically. His style, nicknamed Maresca ball in the press, is built on balance and possession, influenced by his mentor, Pep Guardiola. But here's the challenge. Implementing a high-pressing, possession-based system requires incredible concentration and decision-making under pressure. When players switch off for even a second, when that focus drops, you get exposed. And that's exactly what's been happening. Neto was brutally honest about this, saying, "In the Premier League, in the Champions League, in this kind of competitions, you cannot rest 1 second, because in 1 second you concede, you give away presence, and you are dead to the game. Dead to the game." That's the harsh reality of modern football at the highest level. 1 lapse in concentration, 1 misplaced pass, 1 moment where you're not fully switched on, and suddenly you're chasing the game with 10 men. The really frustrating bit? Chelsea were absolutely dominating Brighton in the first half, with Paul Merson describing it as an outstanding display before the red card changed everything. We had 70% possession and outshot Brighton 9-0 inches the first 45 minutes. This isn't a team lacking quality or tactical nous. This is a team making individual errors at the worst possible moments. What's particularly concerning is how these red cards are coming. When Sanchez was sent off early at Old Trafford, Maresca had to sacrifice both Estevão Willian and Pedro Neto immediately to shore things up. Pedro Neto was so frustrated by being subbed so early that he let out a roar as he left the pitch, and you can understand why. Imagine being taken off after barely getting started because your goalkeeper's made a rash decision. It disrupts the entire game plan, kills any momentum, and forces the manager into reactive rather than proactive substitutions. The silver lining, if there is one, is that these aren't discipline problems in the traditional sense. No one's arguing with referees, no one's lunging into dangerous tackles out of frustration, no one's doing anything deliberately reckless. After the United game, Maresca revealed that Sanchez not only apologised on social media, but also asked for forgiveness directly from his teammates in the dressing room. That shows accountability. That shows a player who knows he's let his mates down. The culture in the dressing room seems sound. But here's what needs to change. And quickly. The concentration levels have to go up another notch. Neto nailed it when he said the team needs to go to the game with more focus. Look at what happened with Brighton. André Santos, under pressure from Kaoru Mitoma, played a back pass that lacked pace and exposed Chalobah completely. That's a situation where Santos needed to either play it harder, play it wider, or just boot it into row Z. Instead, he tried to be cute with it, and it cost us the match. The timing couldn't be worse either, with Chalobah now suspended for the Liverpool match at Stamford Bridge, and Tosin Adarabioyo already ruled out until after the international break with a calf problem. Wesley Fofana is still recovering from concussions suffered against Lincoln. Our defensive resources are being stretched thin, and we're doing it to ourselves with these avoidable red cards. So is discipline becoming a problem? Not in the way you might think. This isn't about players being too aggressive or disrespecting officials. This is about maintaining concentration for the full 90 minutes, about making better decisions under pressure, about not gifting opponents opportunities through sloppy play. It's a mental sharpness issue more than a discipline issue, but the end result is the same. We're playing with 10 men far too often, and it's costing us points we should be picking up comfortably. Even Jose Mourinho, who's now managing Benfica and visited Stamford Bridge earlier this week, acknowledged that Chelsea are back on track under Maresca after a period of disappointment. The special one can see the progress being made, but these red card incidents are threatening to derail what should be a positive season.
We've got the quality, we've got the manager, we've got the system. What we need now is 95 minutes of absolute concentration every single match.
No switching off, no casual back passes, no rash challenges. The good news? These are fixable problems. They're not systemic issues with the squad's mentality or the manager's tactics. They're individual moments of poor judgment that can be coached and corrected. But they need to be addressed now, because if we rock up at Anfield next and pick up another red card, it'll become a proper crisis. Liverpool away is hard enough with 11 men. With 10? Forget about it. Chelsea fans, what do you reckon? Are you worried about this pattern, or do you think it's just a rough patch that'll sort itself out? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We'll be breaking down every twist and turn of Chelsea's season right here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Come on, you Blues!